I think they're necessary goals. I think especially pollution. Pollution is a completely separate thing in my mind than carbon emissions. The Hudson River is a prime example of an extremely polluted water body that was almost considered toxic 30, 40 years ago. And now my son and I just went on a sailboat trip over the weekend, and it's a beautiful place to go. The ecology there is wonderful. Fish life is incredible. It's vastly better than it was. So pollution and carbon emissions, I think, are two totally different things. I think the goals are good. And I think you have to have those types of goals. And I think you need far left goals. And I think you need far right goals. My point is they need to meet in the middle. And it's not one way or another. The far left goals of what I would consider New York State goals of being completely electric driven by 2030 are not in line with the far right goals of don't tell me how to live my life and stop putting unfunded mandates into my checkbook that I cannot afford. They need to meet in the middle. And that's what it is. You have far left goals of being completely carbon neutral and having electric school buses. They're not meeting the right side's goals. And I think they need to come to the middle, have a conversation, and see how we can work toward those goals in a reasonable manner that is not going to force these people to move to Pennsylvania or move to Florida where those laws and those expenses don't exist.
So, Nina, I know New York State isn't your terrain, the whole state, but in Warwick, I mean, there definitely is a lot of polarization in Warwick. So do you have any thoughts about how more cooperation, collaboration, acceptance, across the Great Divide could happen? What might your role as town supervisor be in bridging that divide?
I think the polarization and the divide comes from the top. I think it's coming from the state, it's coming from the federal government, and the infighting that's constantly happening, and the us versus them mentality, right? It's like each political party, it's us versus them. And that's coming from the state. That's coming from the governor, it's coming from the federal government, whether it's Trump, whether it's Biden, doesn't matter who's in there. It's them versus us. And I don't think Warwick really has that too much, but if it does exist in any way, it's not because we don't love our neighbors and we don't want to get along. It's because groups of people are trained to believe that a political ideology is all that matters and that we can't work together and we can't come together. My thing is, and I think I've lived this as a mayor and currently as a town supervisor, is talking and working with everybody. I'm a Republican, but as mayor, I appointed Democrats to the village board. I appointed Democrats to committees and put them in positions of influence and power because I felt we needed a really good balance to accomplish the goals of our community. And I think the same thing is true for Warwick. I think everybody here understands that we all have a common goal, but there certainly is a bit of a divide. And I think that comes purely from national politics and the Fox News and the CNNs training their political parties to hate the other political party. That's what I think is happening. I think CNN trains Democrats to hate the Republican Party. Fox News is training the Republicans to hate the Democratic Party. And that is trickling down to local communities.
Okay. So, all right. So what are some of your visions for Warwick beyond more generally?
Specific vision, unfortunately, nobody wants to hear it, but a lot of it is infrastructure. Warwick's got 7 water districts and 2 sewer districts, and they are old and outdated and require a lot of upgrades. So unfortunately, my vision, which doesn't sound great, is finding grant funding to pay for those sewer districts and those water districts so that the residents, so for example, we've got one water district that has 27 people, 27 households on it. if you have $1 million project that needs to be done for that water delivery system, you have to split that cost between those 27 users. So trying to find grant money is a major concern of mine. In my first month in office, we applied for $16 million in federal grants to support our sewer district. We've in my first 6 months in office, we've gotten over $5 million in grants covering parks, covering bridge. We got one bridge, Jane Street Bridge in the Village of Florida. It's been closed for several years now. The very first thing that I did when I sat at this desk was apply for a $4 million grant to pay for that bridge. And we recently, within the last 2 weeks, were just awarded that grant funding for that. So a lot of my vision is really just taking care of the infrastructure for the town, making sure that our roads, our bridges, our parks are all in working order, and making sure that we can create that good balance that people want. And that balance is protecting our town, preserving our town, making sure that what people come here for, the farmland, the vibrant downtown communities, the beautiful lake, the hiking trails, make sure that is all protected while also not completely footing the entire tax burden on the public. And that's very much what I was talking about before with the state, is we have to protect our state. We have to protect our country. We have to protect our planet. But you also have to understand that the public is the one who has to pay for those things. And you have to strike the delicate balance of accomplishing your very lofty and needy goals while not doing it at their expense and to the point of it becoming a detriment. So the same thing here. You know, Warwick is incredibly unique. It's so beautiful. We've got farmland, black dirt, lakes, hiking trail, fishing, camps, parks, you name it. Vibrant downtowns, amazing businesses, some of the best restaurants in Orange County. But it costs a lot to live here. The school taxes are incredibly high. We have great school districts. It costs a lot to live in Warwick. And then the real estate market over the last few years, the interest rates have completely skyrocketed, making it almost unaffordable for regular people to move here. So I think it's our responsibility as a town to make sure that we're doing our best to keep Warwick affordable for the people who live here, for the people who grew up here, for the families, the kids, my kids. I would love for my kids to grow up in Warwick and then stay in Warwick and move back here after college. It's our job to make sure that it remains an affordable town to live in. But we also have to make sure that it remains the town that people chose to live in, and that's the beautiful, bucolic, scenic Warwick that we all know.